welcome to Gaining Vision. I'm Melanie Taddeo-Nxumalo. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, like, and share. As I mentioned previously, I am starting to capture and interview people's stories from across the globe. So today I am thrilled to have my good friend with us, Mark Brown. Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you, Melanie. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for joining me. And I think you've got such a story to share, and I want you to have a platform here today to share it with the world. So please tell us about Mark Brown.
Well, about me? Well, I was born in Jamaica. I was 6 years old when I left. My mother went ahead of us, then my father, and I came up here with a sister. I was raised here, got educated here. And basically, when I was older, in my late teens, early 20s, I became a father, which was a highlight of my life because it was something that it was unexpected, but it was definitely welcome. It took a young man or a young boy into a man status where I had to be responsible, not just for myself, but for another life. And for me, that was, a new beginning for me, responsibilities altogether, really. After that, actually, I got a job in a corporate company where I knew I would have an opportunity to grow. I was there for 2 years. I took a vacation. That particular vacation led to some unforeseen changes in my life. And it was a Labor Day weekend, nothing unusual how it started. I drove to New York with somebody, and on the way back from that trip, we met into an accident. It was a single motor vehicle accident, and I remember I was sleeping at the time it happened. I woke up in the midst of the vehicle rolling over 3 times. It was so clear. I felt the turns. I felt my body being moved around. I felt the hit on the ground, and I was suspended by my seatbelt. And it was only the seatbelt that really saved me. While I was literally hanging there, the morning sun was coming up. The person I was with, they were out seeking help from people that stopped, were trying to help. I heard ambulance, sirens, and ultimately, somebody from that particular team came in and they cut me loose. And I remember saying, I have glass in my eyes. They brushed off my face, and I was removed from the vehicle onto a stretcher or a board. And the morning sun was definitely bright. My eyes were closed and I could only hear sounds around me, people talking and everything. And I remember being lifted, carried, but I was carried not into an ambulance. I was carried to a helicopter. And after being secured, I just remember us taking off. And I don't know how long after that, waking up in a hospital. So I don't know how long literally I was unconscious for, Melanie. It was just, everything was so fast in actuality. Being out of country, because I was coming back from the States, my family had to drive a long distance from Canada to the States. And they were only allowed 30 minutes to stay with me at a time. And obviously that was a problem. Some family members stayed at the McDonald house as it was available to them. Others drove back every day to see me. I think I was I was unconscious for about maybe a week or so. I'm not fully sure even now. I was surrounded by my parents, my nephew, the person that was there at the accident, and the doctors who have obviously consulted with my family before me, all surrounded my bed. And it was such an uncomfortable feeling. You know this wasn't good news because you can look at people's face. I saw, and their demeanor in the room. I didn't know what they were going to say, but I know it wasn't good. So they delivered this news, which was an actual blow to me, a shock, because I never thought this would be me. The doctors told me I would never, emphasize never, walk again. And I was completely devastated. My mind was racing a mile a minute. How is this possible? How serious was this accident? Because I just woke up not that long ago, and to be told this news, not anything else about it, how it happened, all these things, questions. It took me some time to absorb what was told. My family tried to console me the best way they could, but my mind was still racing. I can't walk. I mean, talk about major depression. But then, how could I be depressed? I had a young child that depended on me. All of these things. If I can't work, who's going to take care of her? I can't let my parents do that. How's her mother going to be able to take care of her without me? So even though depression was there, it was just something that wasn't accepted for me. First of all, I had to get home to Canada. And that in itself took some time and quite a large expense because I had to be flown back. I couldn't be put in an ambulance and drive across the border. They had to fly me back to our critical care hospital, Sunnybrook. And I was in the ICU for a while. Then eventually I got to a ward, a room with other people. And that's when I started to realize more and more what my fate is going to be.
So Mark, I have to ask, okay, so this tragic car accident has left you as a quadriplegic, correct?
Yes.
So you use a wheelchair, and can you describe your limitations for our viewers, please?
Yes, I use a wheelchair. I use a manual wheelchair. I push with my arms. I don't have full finger functions, so I push with the palm of my hands. I don't have any feelings from the nipple down, so the chest down, no feelings whatsoever. I've been like this since 1996, and here we are, 2023. So it's been a long time.
Definitely unforeseen change. And as you started to allude to, your life would have had to change drastically with a young child, being the breadwinner, and of course, in the prime of your life. Can you talk about the emotional roller coaster you must have endured?
Yeah, it was a lot. At the time, I was getting used to what my new normal will be. Going to physiotherapy, because I had left the rehab. So I was in the community and I had to get to rehab. I had to deal with my emotions. It wasn't easy because here I am, as you mentioned, in the prime of my life. I'm trying to be a man, put a strong face forward, hiding my true feelings, really. And the more I did that, the worse things got, but I wasn't aware of that. That took time. I had to figure out, what am I going to do? I tried to go back to work because money was needed. Things had to be taken care of. But I couldn't. Physically, I couldn't go back to work. I tried it for a few weeks. It took a lot of energy out of me. Emotionally, it was very taxing. So, I mean, that type of change alone made such a significant difference. And plus, we were moving from my parents' house, my brother and I, and my daughter were moving into a new place. So he wasn't going to be there for a whole year. All of the challenges that came along with being a single father now, raising a young girl. Fortunately, my young nephew, he came along and lived with us for the time. And my accident had significant effects on my daughter's development, and as well as mine. So it wasn't easy, Melanie.
No. And so now the emotional roller coaster, because I think people don't understand the ups and downs of moods and how, as somebody going through a traumatic experience, may not know how to cope. Did you have the support to help you guide through these troubling times? And did your family have the support as well?
No. Honestly, I can say no. My parents were on their own, especially now that we moved out. Myself raising my daughter. Her mother was there, don't get me wrong, but she didn't have the support. I didn't have the support, the psychological, the mental support that one would need. It's one thing that my nephew was there physically, but then the real support, I think, we didn't have it. We didn't get it. I mean, while I was in rehab, a psychiatrist was offered to me. But then when you're in that situation at that time, you're just thinking, why do I need a psychiatrist? I'm not crazy. All of these feelings and the way that they approached it didn't make me feel comfortable. So I had to suffer on my own and in private.
And I think this is something that a lot of people that acquire disabilities later in life go through. It's almost like the death of the person we used to be. You have to go through the stages of grief, don't you?
Absolutely. I was literally mourning myself. I mean, I didn't have time being in the hospital for 2.5 weeks in the States, then another month in a hospital, then 6 months in rehab. So it was boom, boom, boom. And then you're literally thrust into the community. And the community, honestly, is not accessible, like physically and mentally. It was hard.
Did you recognize that before your accident, Mark, that it wasn't accessible?
No, it was never a thought. I mean, I was born, quote unquote, normal, 10 fingers, 10 toes, happy, bouncing 8-pound baby boy. You go through life. You don't think of those things because it's not affecting you, it's not in your life. So it definitely didn't occur to me.
So finally, you did reach out to some supports in the community that started to turn your life around. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
That was in 2015. I do remember that so clearly. It was in August. I started to look around. Before all of that, I had a lot of health issues that started to come on being a quadriplegic. So I knew I wanted to change. I knew I wanted to do something. I couldn't just be just there, a part of the fixture. So I got in contact with an employment agency in the rehab that I stayed, but even that wasn't even helpful to me in the sense, because I couldn't really work. But I did come across a flyer, and I don't know, it was just something that drew me to that, because I took down the information. I think I took a picture of it, really. I went home with it. I contacted the individual on it and literally made an appointment. A week later, I mean, I've never really traveled outside of my own jurisdiction, but I did it. I did it on my own, which was a physical task. But this interview literally changed my life for the better. And that was at the end of August of 2015. After I had that interview, it was a comfortable, relaxing, no holds barred sort of thing. But after I went home, I felt good. And I got a call, I think a few days later, to say, I've been accepted into this program. And I've never ventured into that kind of a path before, because I never thought of myself as a broadcaster, somebody that had something to say or wanted to broadcast any type of a news. So it was uncharted territory, definitely.
So that course was for 6 months. And how did you change over those 6 months, Mark?
Well, first of all, I got up at 5 o'clock every morning. That was a change. And I took public transit from where I lived at one end of the city to the other end into a new area, which was about almost an hour drive at that time of the morning, if not a little bit more, through morning rush hour traffic, and then another public transit. And that was, I would say, September the 8th. I started a broadcast training course. And I did that for 6 months, Monday to Friday, from 9 until 12. And it showed me there was something that I didn't know about myself. It allowed me to challenge myself, doing research, learning my voice, learning how to ask questions to people in an interview, learning to record, even attempt some type of TV, doing advertisements. So 6 months was a great experience and challenge, but it changed me completely. It gave me purpose.
So the course finishes up, and this also was your first experience interacting with others with disabilities, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, medical appointments, you go in, you go out, you don't see anybody. I've never seen anybody in wheelchairs or any type of mobility aid whatsoever. Not even a person with a white cane. And now, for 6 months, I was in a classroom with individuals with walkers, various different types of aids. And it was definitely a whole new experience for me.
Did you feel that you were belonging? Did you feel a part of a group for the first time that perhaps was missing from before?
At the time I felt part of the group. I didn't feel uncomfortable. I didn't feel weird around individuals. I mean, they were all welcoming and I felt welcomed. I was able to help who needed help in that regard. I learned so much from other individuals with a disability. So it was a new environment, but I adapted to it because it was welcoming by the individuals.
So 2015 was a while ago now, but since then, how have you grown as an individual and advocate? Because I know now you utilize those skills you used in that course to be an advocate for diversity, inclusion, as well as accessibility. What is it that you're doing now with all of that?
What I'm doing now, I'm a part of a charity, and the charity has definitely helped my purpose, and it's helped me grow. The charity is called Connect for Life. And through Connect for Life, it has given me a voice. It has made me visible, and people listen to me when I talk about diversity and inclusion, because that is what I want. That is what we all want. You know, we don't, even though people want to be separated by class and everything, we all want to belong. And we all want to feel that we're being treated fairly and not being judged just because of our limitations, as it will be. And I don't honestly feel any different now or back then. Now I have a purpose to let people know, educate people, show them that I and others like me can do what they can do with a little bit of modification and understanding.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Now, I'm going to just go a little bit back and talk about the emotional roller coaster, because obviously over the years, you've had to grapple with depression and anxiety. And that's normal as an individual who's acquired a disability, going through those stages of grief. What do you find is the common thread for yourself over the years that helps you get through those troubling times?
Well, I have to believe in myself. I have to put myself first, the things that I want to achieve. I know I want to be seen more now than I did before. I honestly think I've gained an ego, but it's an ego or a narcissistic way of being seen and heard, because I want people to understand that I might be in this wheelchair, but I'm still capable of doing so many things. The emotional journey in itself that I took to get here, it wasn't easy. Different types of antidepressants that really didn't make me feel good. I mean, if anything, it brought out the worst in me, brought out thoughts that weren't my own. It gave me visions of things that I never visioned or saw on TV and movies. And honestly, as I said, I had to be in control, and I took control. And by doing that, I saved myself and my family to be the person that I am and to be where I am, doing what I'm doing today, to make sure that people understand that disability is not the end of the world. We can do the things that we're more than capable of doing, and more, because we want to challenge ourselves and we want to show you that we are not just disabled. You know, we want to be included. We want to sit at the table. And for me, as a Black man, single father, and a Black man with a disability, I want to be seen and heard and have a seat at that table for all those reasons and more. Yeah, go ahead, please.
No, I love the way you're segueing into my next question. Thank you, Mark. So, you know, I am an advocate for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And for me, recognizing and truly understand people's lived experiences is so vital, because we can say we understand somebody's situation, but truly, until you've lived it, you can only imagine or listen. And as an individual from two marginalized groups, one being a man who is Black, as well as being an individual with a disability, you have two very different and diverse lived experiences. How do you feel that has impacted your life in today's common day and age?
The impact is I want to do more. For the fact that I'm representing both of these, if not more sometimes, these communities. And the limitations are the limitations of those who put it upon us. Because when you judge or label someone, you're only given that person or that group the strength to show you we're more than just a color. We're more than just a disability. I might not be able to run after you, but I can outthink you, outsmart you in anything that you are doing. Yeah.
So from your lived experience, Mark, here in Canada, what barriers as a Black man have you faced?
As a Black man, you have to know that there is racism. It may not be direct in your face like it is in some other countries. I mean, as an able-bodied person, I was never called by that certain word. I never had people whisper behind me or look at me and think that I was being, judged because of my color. It might have happened, but I was unaware of it. That's how I think we are here in Toronto, in Ontario. My neighbors are from many different backgrounds, so I feel comfortable knowing that I can go out on my driveway and my neighbor is from Pakistan or India or anywhere else, and they see me, a man, conversate. They don't see my wheelchair as a negative. I think in Ontario, Canada, we still have a long ways to go. Making things more accessible. It's one thing that you have voices in elevators, braille on elevator buttons, wider doors, but we still have to take that to the outside world. I don't feel comfortable wheeling around outside because sidewalks are not leveled enough. And I'm sure they can't be because it's the ground. It erodes, it changes. But there's only so much can be done. But I do feel comfortable living here. I have accessible transportation door to door, which it may not be the best sometimes, but I know I can go from one place to another and I'm escorted. I always feel safe, always feel safe. And that I know in some countries is not possible.
So from your lived experience with accessibility, there's still work to do.
There's a lot of work to be done. Some places might be better, like here in Toronto, as I said, I can get door-to-door service. If I miss an appointment, if I'm late, they'll still pick me up. In other regions, if I miss that, I miss it. They don't guarantee me a way back home. So the work has to be done and it takes time.
Definitely. And this is why you're an advocate for accessibility here in Canada. Now, Mike, I always ask all of my guests this question. What does inclusion mean and look like to you? Inclusion
means I have a seat at the table. My voice, ideas will be heard and considered just as well as somebody that's able-bodied that can walk and run. My ideas are just as clear to make a change that will benefit me and others within the disability world, but for an able-bodied person, because as I know it so well, it can happen to anybody. I wasn't born this way, I acquired it.
Thank you so much, Mark. And I would love the opportunity, if people want to learn more about Mark Brown and your journey, your story, or want to reach out, is there some way they can connect with you?
Well, I definitely give them the chance that they could connect with me through the organization that I'm with. My email address is Mark, that's MARK, at connect, CONNECT, the number 4 life.ca, and they can reach me there. And I'll definitely respond to anybody that has a question or just want to ask me anything.
And I encourage our audience to reach out to Mark to ask questions, because that's the only way we as individuals can learn from people's lived experience. We want to understand what other people's experiences have brought them to, as well as so that we can educate ourselves to ensure that we are part of the solution, part of the inclusion process for across the globe. Because although Mark is in Canada, across the globe, there are many people that have had similar experiences, and the connection, the conversation, and the working together will help us help the globe embrace inclusion. So Mark, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Just a little insight into your life, your story. And again, I know we'll have you back as things progress at Connect for Life and as your story unfolds. Thank you so much. And until audience, until next time, see you later.
Take care, everyone. Thank you, Melanie.
Thanks. Can you stop recording, please?